I still remember the sound of the adhan echoing through our small neighborhood. It would float through the open windows of our house, soft but commanding, a call to leave everything and stand before Allah. My mother would always move quickly, setting aside whatever she was doing. My younger siblings would rush to wash up, giggling as they splashed water on one another. And me? I would drag myself to the prayer mat as if it were a burden I could not escape. I prayed, yes. My body stood, bowed, and prostrated. My lips whispered the same words, again and again. But inside me there was nothing. No spark, no weight, no meaning. It felt like I was simply following a script, a play that everyone around me already knew by heart. Sometimes I wondered if Allah even noticed me. Sometimes I feared He did not. At night, lying in bed, a strange question often came to my heart. Do you even know the one you're praying to? It was like a whisper I couldn't push away. My chest would tighten, and I would tell myself to stop thinking like that, but the question kept coming back. One evening after prayer, I watched my mother carefully. She was reciting Quran, her lips moving slowly, tears rolling down her cheeks. She wasn't just reading words, she was talking to someone. Her eyes carried love and awe, as if she were sitting before a beloved friend. I wanted that feeling. I longed for it, but when I tried to recite, my voice was dry, my heart was silent. The emptiness inside me grew heavier each day. I wondered if something was wrong with me. Was I too sinful, too distracted, too unworthy to feel the closeness my mother had? I tried to pray harder, longer, louder, but nothing changed. It became worse when people at the masjid spoke about how sweet Salah was for them, how they cried in sujood. I smiled, nodded, pretended to understand. But inside I thought, why don't I feel that? Why am I so numb? The whispers in my heart turned into fear. What if all my prayers were empty? What if they were rejected? What if I stood before Allah on the day of judgment, only to be told that all those years of worship meant nothing, because I had never known the one I was bowing to? I shook my head and tried to push away the thought. I told myself, no, don't think about it. But that question, the same one that haunted me every night, came back louder, stronger, almost like it was demanding an answer. Do you even know the one you're bowing to? And that night, I realized I didn't. The day my best friend died, the sky looked too blue. It bothered me. How could the world stay bright when my world was suddenly dark? Her name was Samira. We used to sit on the old bench by the school gate and talk about everything. Our dreams, our fears, the little things that made us laugh. She had a habit of tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear when she was nervous. I can still see her doing that, smiling at me, promising we'd memorize more Quran together that summer. We even planned to start Surah Yusuf. We said stories heal the heart. We thought we had time. The call came in the afternoon. A car, a turn too fast, a life cut short. My mother took the phone from my shaking hand. Her face changed in a way I had never seen. She sat me down, held my shoulders, and spoke gently, but it felt like the words were punching holes in my chest. I couldn't breathe. I ran to my room and pressed my face into my pillow until my tears soaked it through. At the janazah, the air smelled like dust and grief. People moved slowly, as if the ground itself was heavy. I watched as they prayed over her, their voices blending into a low hum. My eyes burned, my throat hurt, and my heart was louder than the imam. Why? The question came again and again. Ya Allah, why? Who are you, the one who gives comfort, or the one who takes it away? That night, my hands shook as I tried to pray. My body went through the motions, but my heart felt like broken glass. I wanted to scream. I wanted to understand. I lay on the floor after Salah, whispering, "Are you listening? Do you see me? Do you see her mother?" The room was so quiet that even my breath sounded wrong. I reached for the Quran, not from routine, but because I was drowning. The pages felt warm under my fingers. I opened to a verse that spoke about patience and trust, about believers being tested. I closed the book quickly, as if the truth would burn me. I didn't want to be tested. I wanted my friend back. Sleep didn't come. I stared at the ceiling and remembered her laugh, the way she said Bismillah before every quiz, even when she forgot her pen. I whispered her name into the dark like a secret prayer. The sorrow grew so large that it almost felt like a second presence in the room. And then, just before Fajr, a thought came so clear it made me sit up. You are asking for comfort from a Lord you don't know. My chest tightened. The truth was sharp and it hurt. I pressed my hand to my heart and made a promise I was scared to keep. I said, Ya Allah, if I try to know you, will you let me find you? The silence waited, deep and strange, and then something happened that made me gasp. I woke to the soft call of Fajr with that same promise echoing in my chest. I washed my face, and the water felt like a small mercy. I stood to pray, slower this time, each word careful, like stepping on thin ice. When my forehead touched the ground, I didn't rush. Ya Allah, I whispered, I don't want to pretend anymore. Teach me who you are. The prayer ended, but something in me did not. After sunrise, I made tea and opened my phone, uselessly scrolling. A thumbnail caught my eye, Know Allah by His names, start here. I don't remember subscribing to that channel. I don't remember searching for it the night before. I only remember my heart beating fast as I tapped it. The speaker's voice was calm. He said, You cannot love what you don't know, and you cannot worship what you don't love. Start with His names. He spoke of Ar-Rahman, the most merciful. Mercy wider than the ocean. Ar-Rahim, a special mercy He gives to the believers. Al-Qarib, the one who is near, closer than anyone else. The words felt like keys turning in a lock I didn't know was there. I grabbed a notebook, the one I used for school notes and half-finished poems. I wrote the names slowly. Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim, Al-Qarib. Next to each, I wrote a few lines about what they mean. It felt like meeting someone new and important, someone I wanted to impress, but also someone who already knew my secrets. At Dur, I prayed again. I said, Ar-Rahman, if your mercy is this wide, let a drop fall on my broken heart. I said, Al-Qarib, if you are near, stand closer than my fear. Something softened inside me, like a hand opening. It wasn't dramatic, it was gentle, like the way light enters a room when you lift a curtain. But as evening came, guilt began to creep in. I thought about all the years I prayed fast, thoughtless, distant. All the times I asked for things without even imagining who I was asking from. I felt small, like a child who just realized she had been rude to a guest in her own home. I wanted to stop praying until I knew enough, but a new thought came, steady and firm. Don't drop the rope while you're still climbing. I breathed in and nodded to myself. I would pray and learn. I would walk and look. I would ask and listen. After Isha, I opened the Quran again, this time with less fear. My eyes landed on a verse about turning to Allah with sincerity, without partners, without masks. My throat tightened. I put the book to my chest and closed my eyes. I don't know how to do this, I whispered, but I'm not going to run. I blew out the candle by my desk and slipped into bed. The night seemed to lean in as if it wanted to hear what I would say next. I pulled the blanket up to my chin and made one last dua before sleep took me. Ya Allah, if you are near, show me. The room went quiet, until a sound at my window made my eyes fly open. I sat up, heart pounding. It was just the wind, I told myself, brushing the curtains and tapping the glass. But something about the silence after that tap felt deeper, like the world was waiting with me. I got out of bed and opened the window. A cool breeze flowed in, carrying the distant sound of a car, a short dog bark, the faint hum of a city not ready to sleep. I closed my eyes and let the air wash over my face. Al-Qarib, I whispered. If you are truly near, make me feel it. The breeze seemed to slow, gentle as a hand on a shoulder. A memory came, my mother once said. When you call on Allah by His names, you are knocking on the right door. I rested my forehead against the cool frame and knocked, 3 times, soft and silly like a child. Then I smiled through tears. In the days that followed, I made a quiet routine. After each prayer, I would learn one name. I would write it, say it, search for it in the Quran, and look for it in my day. With Ar-Razak, the provider, I noticed the unexpected gift of time when I needed to study, the neighbor who brought warm bread without asking, the way my mind could calm when I feared the future. With Al-Hafid, the protector, I remembered the risks I had walked past without seeing, the near misses, the worries that never became real. But grief does not move in straight lines. Some mornings I felt hopeful and brave, and by night I was back in the dark, missing Samira so much my hands shook. One evening I nearly threw my notebook into the trash. What's the point? I muttered, angry at everything. What good are names when someone you love is gone? I sat on the floor, knees to my chest, and cried like I hadn't cried since the janazah. I told Allah I was tired. I told him I was afraid. I told him I didn't understand his plan. When the tears slowed, I lay back and stared at the ceiling. If you are the most loving, Al-Wadud, why does love feel like loss? Later that night, unable to sleep, I opened a tafsir video about Al-Wadud. The scholar said, Allah's love is not like our love. His love is pure without need, and sometimes his love removes what keeps us away from him, even if we think we cannot live without it. The words landed hard. Was my loss a door, not a wall? I wanted to be angry, but something in me calmed, like a storm deciding to move on. I took a deep breath and whispered, Al-Wadud, if your love is real, teach me to recognize it, especially when it hurts. I closed my eyes and for the first time, felt a small warmth at the center of my chest, a quiet reassurance that I was not alone in this room. I almost smiled. Then my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number, 5 words that made my heart stop. Meet me at the masjid, that was all it said. No name, no details. The number wasn't saved in my phone. I stared at the screen, my palms sweating. It was late evening, the streets outside half lit and empty. Who would ask me to come at this hour? Was it a mistake? I typed, "Who is this?" and erased it. I typed again, "I think you have the wrong number." Erased it again. My heart raced as if it knew more than my mind did. I remembered the dua I had just made, Al-Wadud, teach me to recognize your love. Was this a test of trust, or just a bad idea? I showed the message to my mother. Her eyes narrowed with caution, but her voice stayed soft. If you go, your father or brother will drive you, she said, and you go straight in, straight out. Understand? I nodded. I didn't even know why I wanted to go, only that something inside me felt pulled, like a magnet. We drove through quiet streets. The masjid lights glowed like a promise against the dark. My father waited in the car as I stepped out, the gravel crunching under my shoes. I pulled my scarf tight around my face and walked up the steps. My hands shook as I pushed open the door. The prayer hall was mostly empty, just a few women finishing Antisha. I sat near the back, my eyes searching faces I didn't know. My phone buzzed again. I'm in the library. The masjid library was small and warm, with wooden shelves and the scent of old pages. When I walked in, a woman in a navy abaya stood up. She was older than me, perhaps my mother's age, with kind eyes and a tired smile. She said my name softly, as if she had been practicing it. I knew your friend, she said, Samira. It felt like the floor tilted under me. How? I asked, my voice thin. We met at a youth halakha, she said, motioning for me to sit. She talked about you, about how you were both planning to memorize more Quran together. She told me if I am strong, I'll pull her up. If I am weak, she'll pull me. The woman paused and her eyes grew glossy. She asked me something the last time I saw her. She said, if something happens to me, will you check on her? Will you help her keep walking toward Allah? My whole body felt like a bell someone had just struck. I covered my mouth with my hand, holding in a sob. The woman slid a small notebook across the table. She left this at the halakha, once, she said. I kept it safe. I think she meant for you to have it. I opened it with trembling fingers. Inside were du'as, ayat, notes from lectures, small drawings of stars and flowers like the ones we doodled in class. On the first page, in soft blue ink, was a line that made my breath catch. Know Allah first, and worship will follow like a river. Under it, in smaller writing, she had added, if I forget, remind me. If you forget, remind yourself. Tears blurred the words. I pressed the notebook to my chest and whispered, I hear you. The woman reached out, squeezing my hand. Allah is near, she said, nearer than your grief. As I stood to leave, my phone buzzed one more time, another unknown message that shattered the calm and sent fear racing up my spine. The new text said, you're asking the right questions, but you won't like the answers. My fingers went cold. I showed the message to the woman. Her calm face changed. She frowned. Block the number, she said. Shaitan whispers through screens too. In the car ride home, the city lights slid across the window like slow-moving stars. My father asked if I was okay. I nodded, clutching Samira's notebook in my lap as if it were a life jacket. Inside the cover, a ribbon marked a page titled, names to learn first. Under it, she had listed Ar-Rahman, Al-Wadud, Al-Hakim, At-Tawwab, Al-Latif, Al-Qarib. The same names that had been finding me all week. Back in my room, I sat cross-legged on the carpet and opened to Al-Hakim, the All-Wise. I looked up ayat, read brief tafsir, and wrote, Allah's wisdom shapes what we cannot understand. He places every event where it belongs. I thought of Samira. I thought of the woman in the library. I thought of the strange messages, the way comfort and fear were taking turns inside me. I wanted to run from the fear. But I also wanted to stand firm in what I was learning. I whispered, Al-Hakim, if your wisdom is in this, don't let me miss it. Then I turned to At-Tawwab, the acceptor of repentance. My chest softened as I wrote, He opens the door again and again. Return is always possible. I listed my mistakes, the times I rushed prayer, the days I let my phone swallow my heart, the hours I spent comparing my life to others instead of being grateful. I felt small, but not hopeless. At Inshisha, I prayed slower. In Sujud, I told Allah everything. I said, I don't know how to love you the right way. Teach me, and forgive me for the years I treated worship like a checklist. When I rose, my face was wet, but my lungs felt wide, as if there was finally room for air. I climbed into bed holding the notebook to my chest. Outside, the wind had picked up. Branches tapped against the window in a restless rhythm. I almost drifted off, until my phone lit the dark again. Another text, same unknown number. You want closeness to Allah? Then be ready to lose more. Anger flared in me. Who are you? I typed. Why are you doing this? No reply. I turned the phone face down and stared at the ceiling until the shadows turned into dawn. By Fajr, I was done being afraid. I blocked the number. Then I opened Samira's notebook to the ribboned page. A note I hadn't noticed before was scribbled near the bottom. When fear tries to rule your heart, answer it with a name. Allah is bigger than fear. I took a breath and whispered, Al-Qarib, be closer than this voice. The morning felt calmer, but the question on the text wouldn't let go. Be ready to lose more. I tried to shake it off. I made breakfast. I studied. I cleaned my room. I even laughed at my little brother's silly jokes. But by afternoon, the fear returned, crawling up my spine without warning. Because that was when my mother called me into the living room, her voice tight and careful. She held an envelope with my name on it, the official kind that never brings easy news. She said, It came this morning. I opened it with shaking hands, and what I read made my knees go weak. The envelope was thin, but it felt heavier than a stone in my trembling hands. My mother's face was unreadable, which only made my heart beat louder. I slid my finger under the seal, the paper tearing like it wanted to resist being opened. Inside was a single sheet, crisp and folded. I unfolded it slowly, my breath shallow. The words at the top jumped out, notice of termination. My scholarship had been revoked. The room tilted. My eyes blurred as I tried to read the rest. Something about funding cuts and unable to continue support. I stared at the paper until the letters danced and twisted. It felt unreal, like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. My mother spoke softly, her voice shaking. Zainab, this means you might not finish school this year. We will find a way, inshallah. But her calmness couldn't reach me. My mind was spinning. Samira gone. Strange texts haunting me. And now this, my education, my future, slipping through my fingers. That whisper from the unknown number returned, louder this time. Be ready to lose more. Tears rushed down my cheeks, hot and bitter. I ran to my room, slammed the door, and sank to the floor. I pressed my hands to my face and sobbed until my body shook. Ya Allah, I cried. Why do you keep taking from me? Who are you? Are you the giver, or only the taker? I grabbed Samira's notebook, desperate. My hands flipped pages wildly until they stopped on a verse she had written in neat, careful handwriting. Perhaps you dislike something and it is good for you, and perhaps you love something and it is bad for you. Allah knows while you do not know. The words pierced me. My breath caught in my throat. Was this really good for me? Losing my scholarship, losing my friend, losing everything I thought I needed. I wanted to believe it, but my heart resisted. That night, I couldn't sleep. My pillow was damp with tears. I kept whispering his names into the darkness. Al-Hakim, the All-Wise. At-Tawwab, the acceptor of repentance. Al-Qarib, the near one. My voice cracked. If this is your wisdom, let me see it. If you are near, show me. If you forgive, don't let me drown. The silence stretched long and heavy, but deep down, a tiny spark flickered. Maybe this was an answer, not a punishment. Maybe Allah was teaching me that closeness to Him came before all else, even school, even dreams, even friends. As dawn broke, I dragged myself to the prayer mat. My heart was heavy, but my sajda was longer. My tears spilled onto the rug, a salty testimony that I had nothing left but Him, and for the first time in weeks I felt something different, not joy, not relief, but surrender, like a tired traveler laying down her bags. But just as I rose from sujood, wiping my wet cheeks, my phone buzzed again. The same unknown number, one new message. This is only the beginning. The words on my screen burned. This is only the beginning. My fingers tightened around the phone until my knuckles turned white. My heart raced, and every sound in the house suddenly felt too loud. The ticking clock, the hum of the fridge, even the faint barking of a dog outside. I locked the phone, threw it on my bed and whispered to myself, "It's just a prank. Just some sick joke." But fear has a way of slipping under locked doors. All day it followed me like a shadow. At breakfast, I stared at my food without tasting it. In class, I copied notes without understanding a word. At home, every vibration of my phone made me jump. That night, I opened Samira's notebook again. My tears fell on a page where she had written in bold letters, "When fear rises, remember Al-Latif. The subtle, the gentle, the one who cares for you in hidden ways." I whispered the name again and again. Al-Latif, Al-Latif, be gentle with me, hide me in your care. As I repeated it, something inside me softened. I remembered the countless small mercies of my life. The time I slipped on the stairs but didn't fall. The day I missed a bus that later broke down on the road. The quiet strength I felt at Samira's burial when I thought I would collapse. All those moments, subtle rescues I hadn't even thanked Him for. Still, doubt gnawed at me. Why the messages? Why the losses? Why so much fear in my chest? I prayed, whispering through sobs, "If this is Shaitan, protect me. If this is a test, help me pass. If this is you guiding me, make it clear." The house was quiet except for the rustle of curtains in the night breeze. My room felt both safe and unsafe at once, like a place caught between two worlds. I crawled into bed and pulled the blanket to my chin, gripping the notebook like it was a shield. In the stillness, my thoughts drifted back to the masjid library and the woman who gave me Samira's notebook. Her words echoed, "Allah is near, nearer than your grief." I clung to them like a rope. But then a louder thought crashed in. If this is only the beginning, what else will I lose? My chest tightened until I could hardly breathe. I sat up, switched on my lamp, and opened the Quran. My eyes landed on a verse I had never noticed before. "So do not fear them, but fear me, if you are truly believers." My lips trembled as I read it again. Don't fear them, fear me. Was Allah telling me to shift my fear? To stop trembling at shadows and start trembling before Him alone? I placed the Quran on my lap and wiped my tears. "Ya Allah, make you the only one I fear," I whispered. The fear in my chest loosened, just a little. But before I could close the Quran, my phone buzzed again. This time, the message wasn't words. It was a photo. And when I opened it, my blood ran cold. The photo loaded slowly, the pixels forming like drops of ink spreading on paper. My breath caught before the image was clear. When it finally sharpened, I dropped the phone onto the bed as if it had burned me. It was a picture of Samira's grave. Fresh dirt, a simple marker, flowers already beginning to wilt. And the worst part? The picture had been taken that same day. My hands shook so badly I almost couldn't pick up the phone again. Who would do this? Who knew where her grave was? Who would send this to me at night? Terror crawled up my spine. The voice in my head screamed, "This is dangerous. You're being watched. You're being followed." I wanted to run to my parents' room, to wake them, to beg them to protect me. But something held me back. A strange, stubborn whisper rose in my heart. Don't run to people. Run to Allah. I fell onto my prayer mat, forehead pressed hard against the rug. My tears fell so fast they soaked the fabric. "Ya Allah, Protector Al-Hafid," I sobbed. "Protect me from what I can't see, from whoever this is, from whatever this means." My voice broke. but I kept repeating it. Al-Hafid, Al-Hafid, Al-Hafid. As I prayed, my phone buzzed again. I didn't want to look, but I forced myself to. Another photo. This time it was me. A blurry picture of me leaving the masjid library 2 nights ago. My chest tightened, and my breath came in gasps. Someone had been there, watching. Panic surged, but I remembered the verse from last night, so do not fear them but fear me. I clenched the phone and said aloud, "You cannot scare me. Allah is greater than you. Allah is nearer than you." My voice trembled, but it grew stronger with each word. I blocked the number, deleted the photos, and powered off the phone. My body was still shaking, but in my heart, something strange had shifted. For the first time, fear itself had pushed me closer to Allah instead of away from Him. I opened Samira's notebook again. On one page she had written in bold letters, "When the world makes you feel hunted, remember Al-Hafid. He guards not just your body but your soul." I hugged the notebook to my chest. The night felt long, but I stayed awake reciting Quran softly until dawn. My voice cracked, but I kept going. Every verse felt like a shield, every name like armor. As Fajr approached, my eyes grew heavy, but my heart stayed awake in a new way. I realized something: fear of people is a prison, but fear of Allah is freedom. I whispered one last dua before sleep finally pulled me under. "Ya Allah, if you are my protector, show me your protection." When I woke, sunlight was streaming through my window, and on my desk, lying open though I hadn't touched it, Samira's notebook showed a page I didn't remember writing in, and the words written there froze me in place. I sat up quickly, blinking at the light pouring through my window. My head was heavy from the night before, but my eyes locked on the notebook on my desk. I was sure I had left it closed, pressed tight to my chest as I drifted off, but now it was wide open, and the page staring back at me made my stomach twist. In neat blue ink, the words read, "Do not be afraid. Draw closer." I froze. My pen was black. I had never written those words, and Samira's handwriting, her loops and curves, the way she dotted her eyes, was different from this. My hands trembled as I touched the page, half expecting the words to fade like smoke. But they stayed, real, solid, unmoving. I whispered, "Ya Allah." The room felt suddenly smaller, as if it were leaning in. For a moment I wondered if this was a warning, or a mercy. I grabbed the notebook and flipped through the pages, desperate to see if there were other notes I hadn't noticed before. Most of it was the same. Quran ayat, reflections, lists of Allah's names. But at the back, on a blank page, I found something new, a verse written in faint pencil, "And He is with you wherever you are." My throat tightened. Was Allah answering me through this notebook? Or was my grief playing tricks on me? The fear of the messages, the pain of loss, the confusion, it all swirled inside me until I felt dizzy. I pressed the notebook to my forehead and whispered, "Al-Qarib, if you are near, let me feel it. If this is from you, let it be light. If it is from Shaitan, protect me." Just then, my mother knocked softly on the door. "Zainab, are you awake? Someone is here to see you." I quickly closed the notebook and wiped my face. "Who?" I called, my voice shaky. She opened the door a little. "It's the sister from the masjid library. She said it's important." My chest tightened. Important. I wasn't sure if I was ready for more, but I nodded and followed my mother to the living room. The woman was sitting on the couch holding a folder in her lap. She smiled when she saw me, but her eyes carried a seriousness that made my heart beat faster. "I didn't plan to come so soon," she said, patting the folder. "But last night something happened that I think you should know about." She opened the folder and slid out a piece of paper. I leaned forward, breath caught in my throat. On it was something that made my hands go cold. It was another page from Samira's notebook, one I had never seen before, and at the top, in her handwriting, were the words, "If you want to worship, first know Him." But beneath it was a name written in neat, unfamiliar script, a name I recognized instantly. It was the same name registered on the messages that had been tormenting me. The name stared up at me from the page like it had been waiting all along. My stomach clenched. I whispered it out loud, barely able to hear my own voice. The woman nodded slowly, watching my reaction. "Yes," she said softly. "That's the same person who's been sending you those messages, isn't it?" I nodded, my mouth too dry to speak. She sighed. "His name came up last night at the masjid. A few of the youth sisters mentioned he's been troubled, angry. He used to attend the same halakha as Samira. He even argued with her once about why she kept insisting that knowing Allah's names mattered. He mocked her, called it childish. My heart sank. The pieces clicked painfully into place. The texts, the photos, the threat. Be ready to lose more. This wasn't random, this was someone who knew, her, someone who had been close enough to know me too. I clutched the paper tighter. Why would Samira write his name? I asked, my voice breaking. The woman shook her head. Maybe she wanted to warn you. Maybe she wanted to remind you that people who resist Allah's light will sometimes try to pull others into their darkness. I closed my eyes. Fear rose again, but so did something else. Anger. Not the wild, hopeless kind, a sharper anger. How dare he twist my grief into torment? How dare he use Samira's memory to frighten me? But underneath the anger, I felt something even stronger, a strange clarity. This wasn't about him, it was about me. About what Allah was teaching me through all of this. I looked down at the words Samira had written above the name, "If you want to worship, first know him." It felt like she was speaking straight into my chest. The darkness pressing against me wasn't the point. The point was light. The point was Allah. That night, I sat with Samira's notebook open on my lap. I wrote in big, uneven letters across a blank page. I will not fear him. I will fear only Allah. Then I turned to my Quran and read until my eyes blurred. The verse that struck me most was, "Indeed, my servant, you have no authority over them." The words were like a shield around my heart. Whoever this person was, however much he tried, he had no power except what Allah allowed. And Allah was al-Hafid, the protector. I whispered into the night, "Ya Allah, make me stronger than my fear, stronger than his whispers, strong enough to know you, truly know you." The room grew calm. My body still trembled, but my heart felt steadier. I closed my eyes, clutching the notebook to my chest, and then, just as I was about to drift into sleep, my phone buzzed again, even though I had blocked the number. The vibration on my desk rattled the glass of water beside it. My heart slammed against my ribs. I had blocked the number. I had deleted the photos. This wasn't possible. With trembling fingers, I reached for the phone. The screen lit up with a new notification, one unread message. I swallowed hard and opened it. It wasn't words this time. It was a single ayah from the Quran, typed out, and we are closer to him than his jugular vein. Quran 50:16. I dropped the phone onto the bed as though it had burned me. My breath came quick and sharp. Was this a threat? A mockery? Or a reminder? I picked up Samira's notebook with shaking hands and flipped to the page where she had listed the names of Allah to study. There it was, Al-Qarib, the near one. My throat tightened. Was Allah answering me through the very tool my tormentor thought would frighten me? I pressed my forehead against the cool pages of the notebook. Ya Allah, I whispered, if you are near, make me feel it, make me remember it every time fear tries to control me. That night, I prayed with a different kind of intensity. Each movement was slow, deliberate, heavy with longing. When my forehead touched the ground, I let myself stay there, whispering, Al-Qarib, be closer to me than fear, closer to me than grief, closer to me than the whisper of anyone who wants to harm me. As I rose from sujud, my body still trembled, but there was a calmness in my chest that hadn't been there before. It was small, fragile, but real. In the days that followed, I began to look for signs of his nearness everywhere. In the way my father silently left tea by my door when I studied late. In the way my mother's hand lingered on my shoulder when she passed by. In the way a stranger at the store smiled at me just when I thought I would break. Subtle, quiet gifts, like threads weaving me back together. Yet the fear hadn't fully left. Every time my phone buzzed, even from normal messages, my stomach knotted. Every shadow outside my window felt like eyes watching me. One evening, as the sky burned with orange and pink, I sat outside on the steps, clutching Samira's notebook. I whispered, Al-Qarib, if you are this close, then protect me. Show me you are with me, not against me. The air grew still, heavy with silence. For a long moment it felt like the world itself was listening. And then, out of nowhere, my phone buzzed again. Another message. But this time, it wasn't from the unknown number. It was from someone I hadn't spoken to in years, someone whose name made me gasp. I stared at the name on my phone, my pulse quickening. It had been nearly 3 years since we last spoke. Layla, my cousin, my childhood companion. We used to share secrets under the mango tree in my grandmother's yard, giggling until our mothers called us in for prayer. But after she moved to another city, our bond frayed into silence. Her message was short. I don't know why, but I thought of you tonight. Are you okay? I sat frozen. Of all nights, why tonight? Why after the strange ayah? After my whispered dua about Allah's nearness? My hands trembled as I typed back. I don't know if I'm okay, Layla. She called almost immediately. Her voice spilled through the speaker like a forgotten song, warm and steady. Zainab. I had the strongest feeling to reach out. Tell me what's happening. And for the first time in weeks, I poured everything out, the emptiness in my prayers. Losing Samira, the haunting texts, the photos, even the strange page that appeared in Samira's notebook. I spoke until my voice cracked, until the weight of silence between sobs grew heavy. Layla didn't interrupt. When I finally fell quiet, she whispered, Subhan Allah. Do you know why I think I called you tonight? Why? I asked, my throat tight. Because Allah is Al-Qarib, the near one. He places people, moments, even thoughts in our path to remind us that we are never alone. Maybe He wanted me to be your reminder tonight. Her words pierced through me. I pressed a hand to my chest. I want to believe that, I whispered. Believe it, she said firmly. Remember, Zainab, Allah doesn't just protect you with walls. Sometimes He protects you with people. Sometimes He comforts you with voices you forgot you needed. Her certainty washed over me like cool water. I closed my eyes, letting her words soak into my aching heart. Layla, I said softly, I've been so afraid. Every time I pray, I feel like I'm speaking to a stranger. She paused, then said gently, then start treating him like the one who's closest to you. Talk to him as if you can see him, and if you can't see him, know that he sees you. That's ihsan. That's how worship comes alive. Tears spilled again, but this time they weren't only from grief, they carried a strange relief. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel like I was fighting alone. We talked until the night grew heavy, and before hanging up she said, Tomorrow, I want you to do something. Choose one name of Allah, just one. Live with it all day, notice it in everything. Can you do that? I nodded, though she couldn't see me. Yes. Good, she said. Then tomorrow, start with Ar-Rahman, and tell me what you find. The line went silent. I sat holding the phone, the word Ar-Rahman echoing in my head. And then I turned to my window and gasped, because scrawled in the dust of the glass, clear as day, was a word I hadn't written. Rahma. Mercy. The word on my window, Rahma, stayed with me long after the night ended. I kept staring at it, wondering if my eyes were tricking me, if maybe the dust had always been shaped that way, and I'd only just noticed. But deep down, I knew better. It felt like an answer, a whisper from the unseen. Look for my mercy. The next morning, I remembered what Layla had said. Live with Ar-Rahman for one day. So I tried. At Fajr, I recited Surah Al-Fatiha slowly, pausing at Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahim. My voice shook, the most merciful, the especially merciful. The words didn't feel far anymore. They felt close, like they were wrapping me in something invisible. I decided that day to look for mercy everywhere, and it was there, in ways I had ignored before. The warm bread my mother baked for breakfast, steam curling into the cool morning air, the small bird that landed on our balcony, tilting its head as if it knew I was watching. The text from Layla at noon, I'm making dua for you right now. Each one felt like a drop of water falling onto dry soil, but mercy also showed itself in unexpected ways. My younger brother spilled tea all over my notes. Normally I would have snapped, but something softened in me. I heard myself say, It's okay, accidents happen. His surprised smile made my chest ache. Maybe Ar-Rahman was teaching me to give mercy, not just notice it. By Asr, I felt lighter than I had in weeks. Mercy was everywhere, woven into air, food, smiles, forgiveness. I whispered again and again, Ya Ar-Rahman, thank you for not letting me drown. But as the sun dipped low, a heaviness returned. I remembered the scholarship letter, the grave photo, the threats. A voice in my head whispered, Mercy? Where was mercy when Samira died? Where is mercy when you're losing everything? That night, I opened Samira's notebook, desperate for an anchor. On one page she had written, "Mercy is not the absence of pain. Mercy is the presence of Allah in your pain." My breath caught. Was this why Allah had brought me to Ar-Rahman today? To remind me that even loss carried mercy, if only I looked deeper. I closed my eyes and pressed the notebook to my chest. "Ya Rahman," I whispered, "show me the mercy in what I can't understand. Please." Just then, my phone buzzed. My heart leapt, but it wasn't from the blocked number. It was a voice note from Layla. I pressed play, expecting her gentle encouragement, but instead, what I heard made my blood run cold. It wasn't Layla's voice at all. I froze, the phone pressed to my ear, the voice slithering through the speaker. It was low, harsh, and nothing like Layla. "You think mercy will save you? This is only the beginning." My heart slammed against my ribs. I yanked the phone away, my hands trembling so badly I almost dropped it. The message ended with a burst of static, and then silence. My skin prickled as though the room itself had turned against me. I replayed it once, hoping I'd imagined it. But no, it was real. Someone had hacked into Layla's number, or worse. I ran to my mother, my voice shaking. "Ummi, someone is using Layla's phone to send me things." I showed her the message, my hands still trembling. She frowned, worry clouding her eyes, and took the phone. "Zainab, listen to me," she said, gripping my shoulders firmly. "Do not let fear control you. Whoever this is, they have no power. Not over your soul. Remember what Allah says, and Allah is the best of protectors." Her words steadied me a little, but my chest was still tight. That night, I could barely bring myself to turn off the lights. Shadows felt alive, my phone like a threat in my hand. I clutched Samira's notebook and whispered over and over, "Al-Hafid, protect me. Al-Hafid, protect me." The words were like a rope I refused to let go of. When I prayed, my sujood was longer than ever. My tears soaked the carpet as I whispered every fear, every doubt, every desperate plea. "Ya Allah, guard me from what I cannot see. Guard me from those who wish me harm. Guard my heart from despair." And then something happened I will never forget. As I rose from sujood, the electricity in the house flickered. The room plunged into darkness, then lit again. My breath caught. On my desk, the Quran I had left closed earlier was now open, its pages spread wide. I crept closer, heart hammering. My eyes fell on the verse before me. Indeed, my protector is Allah, who has sent down the book, and he is the protector of the righteous. My knees gave way. I sank to the floor, clutching the edge of the desk, tears pouring down my face. It felt like an answer, loud, clear, undeniable. "Al-Hafid," I whispered, my voice trembling but certain. "You are watching me, you are guarding me." For the first time, the fear in my chest loosened. Not because the threats were gone, but because I finally understood no one could touch me unless Allah allowed it, and if He allowed it, it would carry wisdom. I lay in bed with the Quran still open on my desk, light spilling from the lamp, whispering His name until sleep finally took me, but in the middle of the night, I woke suddenly. My phone buzzed on the table, and this time, the message wasn't a threat. It was a single question that made my blood run cold. "Do you really want to know Him?" The words glowed on my screen. "Do you really want to know Him?" I stared at them, my heart pounding so loudly it drowned out the silence of the night. My throat went dry. My hands shook. I almost wished it had been another threat, another ugly photo, anything but this. Because this question cut deeper than fear. It was the very question that had been living inside me since the beginning. Do I really want to know Allah? My lips trembled as I whispered the words out loud. "Yes, I think I do, but..." I stopped, my voice breaking. But what if knowing Him means more pain, more loss, more tests? I curled up on my bed, hugging my knees, the phone still in my hand. I thought of Samira's smile, of her little drawings of stars in her notebook. I thought of the verse she had written, "If you want to worship, first know Him." Hadn't she already given me the answer? I closed my eyes, whispering into the darkness, "Ya Allah, I want to know You. But I am afraid. I am so afraid." My tears dampened the pillow. Fear pressed down on me like a weight I couldn't lift. At Fajr, I dragged myself onto the prayer mat. My body was weak, but my heart felt desperate. As I raised my hands, I said, Allahu Akbar, and the words sounded different this time, heavier, sharper, like a blade cutting through the fog. In sujud, I poured my heart out. Ya Allah, if knowing you means losing, then let me lose everything but you. If knowing you means pain, then let me endure it for your sake. Just don't let me worship you like a stranger anymore. When I rose, my whole body trembled. It wasn't peace exactly, but it was a kind of surrender, raw and terrifying. Later that day, I met Layla online. Her face filled the screen, her smile soft. You look exhausted, she said. I am, I admitted. Then I told her about the question, the way it echoed inside me. She grew quiet, her eyes steady. Zainab, she said softly, this is the turning point. Shaitan wants you to fear knowing Allah, because if you do, your worship will no longer be hollow. You'll be unstoppable. That's why the attacks are getting stronger. But remember, Allah's names are your armor. Cling to them. Her words struck me like lightning. Armor. That's what this was about. Every name I learned, every verse I held on to, they were not just lessons, they were shields. That night, I opened the Quran again. My eyes landed on the verse, Allah is the ally of those who believe. He brings them out from darkness into light. I whispered, take me out of this darkness, Ya Allah, pull me into your light. And then, as if in answer, my phone buzzed one last time before I drifted off. I hesitated, then opened it. It wasn't a threat, it wasn't a taunt, it was a location, pinned on a map. The masjid library. I stared at the glowing red pin on the map. The masjid library. The very place where Samira's notebook had been handed to me. My pulse thudded in my ears. Why there? Why now? Sleep didn't come that night. I kept glancing at the phone, half expecting the pin to disappear. When the Fajr Adhan finally broke the silence, I made wudu with shaky hands and prayed. My sujud was longer than ever. Ya Allah, if this is a trap, protect me. If this is your sign, guide me. Don't let me go blind into it. All morning I wrestled with myself. Part of me wanted to block it out, pretend I never saw the location. Another part whispered, maybe this is where you'll find the answer you've been begging for. By afternoon, I couldn't bear the weight of indecision anymore. I told my mother I wanted to go to the masjid for Asr. Her eyes narrowed in quiet suspicion, but she agreed, sending my younger brother with me. The library was quiet, as always. Dusty shelves, warm light through high windows, the faint smell of books that had been loved for decades. I held my breath as I stepped inside. My brother stayed outside with his phone, muttering something about waiting in the courtyard. At first, the library looked empty. I almost laughed at myself for expecting something dramatic. But then, on the central table, I saw it, another notebook. Similar to Samira's but not hers. No one else was around. My feet moved on their own, carrying me closer. I touched the cover. It was plain, dark brown. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside, the first page was blank, except for a single sentence written in bold letters. Do you really want to know him? Then follow his names. My breath caught. The words matched the haunting question from last night's text. But this time, they didn't feel like a threat. They felt like a challenge. An invitation. I flipped the page. The next section listed several names of Allah, each written in a careful script with short reflections beneath them. Ar-Rahman, Al-Wadud, Al-Hakim, Al-Latif, Al-Hafid. The very names I had been learning. But then I noticed something strange. Beside Al-Qarib, there was a note scribbled in the margin, she will need this more than anyone else. My knees weakened. Who wrote this? Who knew my struggle so clearly? I wanted to believe it was Samira, but the handwriting was different, too sharp, too deliberate. I clutched the notebook to my chest, my thoughts spiraling. Was Allah guiding me, even through the hands of people who wished me harm? Could even my tormentor be an unwilling tool of his plan? The air in the room shifted, as if someone had opened a door behind me. My heart leapt. I turned quickly, and froze, because standing in the doorway was the woman from the masjid library. Her eyes locked onto the notebook in my hands. The woman's gaze lingered on the notebook in my trembling hands. Her face was calm, but her eyes carried something I couldn't read. Sorrow, maybe, or a secret too heavy to hold. You found it, she said softly, stepping inside and closing the library door behind her. My voice caught in my throat. Did you Did you put this here?" She shook her head. "No. But I knew it would find you, just like Samira's notebook did." The air between us thickened. I clutched the book tighter. "Then who wrote this? Who keeps leaving these things for me?" She walked slowly toward one of the shelves, running her fingers across the spines of the books as if searching for something. "Not everyone who writes intends good, Zainab," she said at last. "But Allah can turn even the darkest intentions into guidance. Even the words of an enemy can become a reminder if Allah wills." Her words struck me, heavy and confusing. "Are you saying the same person sending me those messages is also leaving these notes?" The woman turned back to me, her eyes sharp. "Ask yourself, why do the messages scare you, but the words inside the notebook push you toward Allah? Same source, two results. That's the difference between Shaitan's whisper and Allah's will. He cannot harm you unless Allah allows it, and even then, sometimes Allah allows it to strengthen you." I swallowed hard, my mind racing. Could it be true? That the very person tormenting me was unknowingly driving me closer to Allah? The woman stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Do you know what Samira told me the last time I saw her alive?" I shook my head, my throat too tight to speak. She said, "If anything happens to me, remind her that knowing Allah will be her shield. Remind her that fear will chase her, but Allah's names will guard her." Knees gave way, and I sank onto a chair, clutching the notebook to my chest. Tears blurred my vision. Samira had known. She had felt something coming, and she had thought of me. The woman placed a gentle hand on my shoulder. "You are being tested, Zainab, but you are not being abandoned. Allah is nearer to you now than He has ever been. The question is, will you draw nearer to Him, or will you let fear win?" I nodded slowly, wiping my tears. "I want to be nearer. I don't want to be afraid anymore." Her smile was small but warm. "Then keep learning His names. They are not just words, they are doors. Open them, and you'll find Him." Just then my phone buzzed in my pocket. My chest tightened. The woman stepped back, watching me. "Answer it," she said. I pulled out the phone with shaking hands. One new message, but this time it wasn't from the unknown number. It was from my father, and the words made my blood run cold. "Come home now. Something's happened to your mother." My legs almost gave out when I read the message. The phone slipped from my hand, clattering against the wooden floor of the library. My chest felt tight, like all the air had been sucked out of the room. "Something's happened to your mother." The words looped in my mind until they blurred into a scream. The woman from the library bent quickly, picked up my phone, and pressed it into my trembling hands. "Go," she urged. "Don't wait." I barely remember running through the masjid courtyard, my brother's startled face as he stood to meet me, the blur of trees and houses as we rushed home. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. Every step felt heavy with dread. When we reached the house, I stumbled through the door. My father was standing in the hallway, his face pale, his hands shaking. "Baba," I gasped. "What happened?" He swallowed hard. "Your mother collapsed in the kitchen. She's breathing, alhamdulillah, but weak. We're waiting for the doctor." I hurried into the living room where my mother lay on the couch, her face pale but her eyes half open. She tried to smile when she saw me, her lips barely moving. "Zainab, I'm fine," she whispered, though her voice betrayed her weakness. I knelt beside her, gripping her hand as though it might slip away if I let go. Tears streamed down my cheeks. "Ya Allah, please, please don't take her too." The doctor arrived soon after. He checked her pulse, asked questions, and finally said it was exhaustion, nothing fatal. Relief hit me so hard I almost sobbed out loud, but the fear lingered, whispering, "What if next time it isn't just exhaustion?" That night, after she had fallen asleep, I sat alone in my room, Samira's notebook open in my lap. My eyes burned from crying. On one page, written in her looping handwriting, were the words, "Al-Hakim, the All-Wise. He places every trial in the exact place it belongs." I clenched the notebook. Was this wisdom too? Watching my mother so fragile, so human, so close to being taken from me. What wisdom could there be in that? I whispered into the silence. "Al-Hakim, if there is wisdom in this, let me see it. Don't let me drown in fear." And as if in answer, I remembered something my mother always said. Sometimes Allah shakes the ground beneath us, not to break us, but to remind us who holds us steady. The thought wrapped around me like a blanket. Maybe this was another call to depend on Him, not just in grief but in gratitude too, Not just when I lost, but when I was given another chance to hold on. I pressed my forehead to the floor in sujood, whispering, Ya Allah, teach me to trust your wisdom, even when I don't understand. When I lifted my head, my phone buzzed again. My stomach clenched as I picked it up. One new message, and this time, it wasn't from my father. It was from the unknown number. If you think this was mercy, wait until you see what comes next. The message glared back at me. If you think this was mercy, wait until you see what comes next. My heart twisted painfully. Whoever this was, they weren't done. My hands trembled as I set the phone down, my chest tightening with every breath. I wanted to scream, to cry, to fight back. But instead, I whispered, Ya Allah, I have no one but you. I opened Samira's notebook with desperate fingers. My eyes landed on a heading I hadn't paid attention to before. Al-Latif, the subtle, the gentle, the one whose kindness hides in places you don't expect. Beneath it, she had written, When fear blinds you, look for his hidden gifts. They are always there. I pressed my hand over the words, my tears falling onto the page. Hidden gifts, I whispered. Where, Ya Allah, where are they when my life feels like it's falling apart? The next morning, I found one. It was small, almost too easy to miss. My mother, still weak, smiled at me from the couch and said, You make the best tea. Could you bring me a cup? I went to the kitchen, made the tea, and brought it to her. When she took the first sip, her eyes softened. Thank you, Zainab, she whispered. And in that moment I realized I still had her. Allah had given her back to me when he could have taken her. That was Al-Latif. Later that day, Layla called. I don't know why, but I made extra food today, she said. I felt like you needed it. She drove all the way across the city to bring it. As we ate together, I realized this too was Al-Latif, a friend arriving exactly when my heart was weak. Even my younger brother, who often teased me, quietly left a note on my desk. Don't worry, Allah is with you. His handwriting was messy, but my heart swelled. One by one, the small mercies unfolded. Not grand, not dramatic, subtle, hidden in plain sight. And I understood Al-Latif doesn't always show his care in loud miracles. Sometimes it's in the quiet timing of things. The tea, the food, the note, the smile. That night, I sat on my prayer mat, whispering, Al-Latif, I see it now. Your care is woven into the smallest corners of my day. Don't let me overlook it again. But even as I felt this peace, my phone buzzed once more. Against my better judgment, I opened it. A new message from the unknown number. This time, it wasn't a threat. It was a photo. And my heart nearly stopped, because it was a picture of me, taken just minutes earlier. While I was praying, the photo on my screen made my blood run cold. It was me, kneeling on my prayer mat, forehead pressed to the ground. The timestamp was from just minutes ago. Someone had been close, watching, waiting, while I was at my most vulnerable. My heart pounded so hard I thought it might crack my ribs. I jumped up, rushing to the window, pulling back the curtains, searching the street below. Empty, too quiet. I checked the door, the locks, even under my bed like a frightened child. Nothing. I clutched Samira's notebook to my chest, whispering through tears, Ya Allah, I am not safe. I can't fight this. I don't know who it is, or how they keep finding me. Please, please, be my protector. I turned to the Quran, my hands shaking so much the pages rustled like wings. My eyes landed on the verse, and rely upon the ever-living who does not die, and exalt him with his praise. And sufficient is he to be acquainted with the sins of his servants. My lips trembled as I whispered, Al-Wakil, the disposer of affairs, the one I can trust. Ya Allah, I hand this to you. I can't carry it any more. For the first time, I didn't think about calling the police, or my father, or anyone else. I just sat there breathing his name. Al-Wakil, Al-Qarib, Al-Hafid. My fear didn't vanish, but it loosened, like chains slowly unfastening. The next morning I told Layla everything. Her eyes widened with shock, then darkened with anger. This has gone too far, Zainab. Whoever this is, they're trying to break you. But don't you see? Every time they strike, Allah pulls you closer. Maybe this is how he is teaching you reliance. Tawakkul. Her words settled deep in my heart. Tawakkul. To tie the camel, but trust Allah for the rest. To do my part, but know the outcome is in his hands. That day, I did something bold. After door prayer, I went outside, stood under the sun, and whispered aloud, I am not afraid of you. I only fear Allah. If you can see me, then know this. Allah sees you too. The street was empty, the air heavy with silence. But deep inside, I felt a strength I hadn't known before. Not because I was fearless, but because I had chosen who to fear. That night, as I read Quran, my eyes fell on another verse. Is Allah not sufficient for His servant? Tears blurred the words. I whispered, Yes, Ya Allah, you are enough. Be enough for me. And then my phone buzzed again. My stomach clenched. I opened it slowly, bracing for another threat. But this time, it wasn't a photo. It was a single word. Enough? The message glowed on my screen. Enough. I stared at it, my mind spinning. Enough what? Enough fear? Enough pain? Enough worship? Or was it mocking me, echoing the very verse I had just read? Is Allah not sufficient for His servant? And then, as if in reply, enough. My breath caught in my throat. Could it be coincidence? Or was Allah answering me through the very hands of someone who wished to harm me? I clutched the phone to my chest, my tears rising. Ya Allah, I whispered, if this is your sign, let me understand. Teach me what it means that you are enough. That night, I opened Samira's notebook. My eyes landed on a page I hadn't studied before. At the top, in her neat handwriting, she had written Al-Ghani, the self-sufficient, the free of need. Beneath it, she had scribbled, if Allah is free of need, then He is never exhausted by your asking, and if He is sufficient, then you need no one else to complete you. I ran my fingers over the words, my heart trembling. Could that be it? That Allah was reminding me I didn't need to chase safety in people, or approval, or even control. That He was enough, because He was as Samad, the one we all depend on, the one who depends on none? I sat cross-legged on my prayer mat, whispering, Ya Ghani, Ya Samad, make me content with you alone. Let me stop chasing what cannot fill me. The next day, I tested it. Whenever fear rose, I whispered, Allah is enough. Whenever my chest tightened with grief for Samira, I whispered, Allah is enough. When I thought about my scholarship loss, my mother's weakness, my own brokenness, I repeated, Allah is enough. And slowly, something shifted. Not a loud miracle, not instant relief, but a steadiness, like roots digging deeper into soil. That evening, I walked into my mother's room. She was awake, smiling faintly despite her tiredness. Zainab, she said softly, you look calmer today. I nodded, because I realized something. Allah doesn't just give enough. He is enough. She reached for my hand, her eyes glistening. That's the beginning of real worship, my daughter, when your heart depends on Him fully, not on anyone else. Her words sank deep. For the first time, I began to understand. Worship wasn't just actions, it was where my heart leaned when everything else broke. That night, I prayed Isha with tears streaming down my face. Each Allahu Akbar felt heavier, fuller, more alive. When I finished, I whispered, Ya Allah, if you are truly enough, then take away everything false in me until I know you fully. I sat in the stillness, waiting for peace to settle. Instead, my phone buzzed again, one new message, and this time it wasn't a word, it was a date, tomorrow's date. The numbers glared back at me, tomorrow's date, no words, no explanation, just the date. I stared at it until my eyes blurred. My whole body went cold. Tomorrow, what was going to happen tomorrow? Was it another threat, a warning, or some kind of twisted game? My chest tightened until I couldn't breathe. I pressed my palms against the floor, whispering, Ya Allah, please. Don't let tomorrow destroy me. I can't take another loss. I can't. I opened Samira's notebook with shaking hands. The page that met my eyes was almost too perfect, as if it had been waiting, at Tawwab, the acceptor of repentance. Beneath it, Samira had written, when fear of the future chokes you, turn back. Not to tomorrow, but to Allah. Tawbah isn't just for sins, it's for every time your heart wanders away from Him. I covered my face with my hands. Had I been clinging so tightly to fear of tomorrow that I'd let my heart wander again? I whispered into the stillness, at Tawwab, accept me back. Even now, even broken. That night, I sat in sujud, longer than ever before. Every word spilled out raw. Forgive me for doubting you. Forgive me for letting fear sit on your throne in my heart. Forgive me for worshipping shadows when I should have clung to your light. My tears drenched the rug, but my chest felt lighter with each sob. As I rose, a strange calm began to settle. I realized something. Repentance wasn't just about the past. It was also about returning to Allah before the future crushed me. Tomorrow didn't belong to the unknown number. Tomorrow didn't belong to fear. Tomorrow belonged to Allah. The morning came slow, heavy with dread. Every sound felt like a signal. Every knock on the door made me flinch. I carried Samira's notebook with me everywhere, gripping it like a lifeline. By midday, nothing had happened. My mother laughed softly, saying I looked like a soldier waiting for battle. My father teased me about pacing holes into the floor, but my heart refused to unclench. ASR approached. I prayed, whispering, "At Tawab, if today is a test, let me return to you through it." The hours dragged, and then, just after Maghrib, the doorbell rang. My father opened it, and I heard voices, familiar voices. I stepped into the hallway, my stomach dropping. There, standing in the doorway, was Layla. And beside her, someone else. A face I hadn't seen in years. A face I thought I would never have to see again. I froze. The hallway seemed to shrink around me, my breath trapped in my chest. Standing next to Layla was a tall figure, familiar in the worst way. His eyes caught mine, sharp, unblinking, filled with something I couldn't name. "Zainab," Layla said carefully. "This is Khalid." The name hit me like a stone. Memories rushed back. Khalid, the boy from our old madrasa class, the one who used to argue about everything. He mocked the teacher when we studied Allah's names, laughed when Samira defended their importance. He had vanished years ago, leaving behind only whispers of trouble. And now he was here. My father's voice broke the silence. "Layla, what is this?" His tone was firm, protective. Layla glanced at Khalid, then at me. He wanted to speak to Zainab. He says it's important. Every instinct in me screamed, no. But another part, the part that had been searching for meaning in all these trials, whispered, "Maybe this is the knot you have to untie." I clenched my fists. Fine, but only in the sitting room. With my father here. We sat in tense silence. Khalid shifted uncomfortably, his eyes darting between me and the floor. Finally, he spoke, his voice rough. "The messages, they were from me." My stomach dropped, though I had known it all along. "I wanted to shake you," he continued, his words spilling fast. "I wanted you to doubt, to feel what I feel, like worship is empty, like Allah doesn't care." He looked up, his eyes glistening with something between anger and pain. "But every time I tried to push you away, you got closer instead. You kept turning to him." Tears welled in my eyes, not of fear this time, but of something heavier, grief. "Why me, Khalid? Why Samira's notebook? Why the photos, the threats?" His face twisted. "Because Samira believed in something I couldn't. She believed knowing Allah could heal anything. She tried to make me see it. I didn't want to. When she died," his voice cracked. "When she died, I wanted to destroy the faith that kept her strong. And you, her closest friend, you were the easiest target." My father's jaw tightened. "What you did was cruel, evil." Khalid's shoulders slumped. "I know, and now..." He swallowed hard. "Now I can't escape what I've done. Everywhere I turn I see the names she used to write about. It's like Allah is chasing me with them. I wanted to break you, Zainab, but all I did was break myself." Silence fell heavy in the room. My heart pounded. This was the man who had haunted my nights, filled me with terror. And yet, sitting here, he looked less like a monster and more like a boy lost in his own darkness. Layla spoke gently, her hand on his shoulder. "Khalid, Allah is al-Adl, the just. He will hold you accountable. But he is also at Tawab, the acceptor of repentance. You still have a chance to turn back." Khalid's eyes filled with tears. Do you think he would forgive someone like me?" I looked at him, my throat tight. "If he can forgive me for worshipping him like a stranger for years, he can forgive you too. But you have to stop running. Stop hurting others because you're hurting inside. Return to him before it's too late." Khalid bowed his head, his shoulders shaking. The room fell silent except for his muffled sobs. And in that moment, I understood something. Allah's justice and mercy are not opposites. They work together. His justice exposes the wrong. His mercy offers a way back. I thought the story was ending, that perhaps this was the closure I had been searching for. But later that night, as I lay in bed, my phone buzzed one last time. It wasn't Khalid. It was another unknown number. And the message sent a chill straight through my bones. You're closer now. But are you ready for the truth? The message glowed like fire in the dark. You're closer now. But are you ready for the truth? I sat up in bed, my heart racing. For weeks, I had lived between shadows and whispers, caught between fear and faith. I thought the storm was ending after Khalid's confession, but here was another wave, crashing hard, daring me to stand or drown. My hands trembled as I opened Samira's notebook one last time. The ribbon had slipped onto a page I hadn't touched before. At the top, in her careful handwriting, were the words, "To know Allah is to know yourself. To worship Him without knowing Him is to bow with an empty heart." Beneath it, she had written a dua. Ya Allah, let me love you more than fear you more than disobey you, and trust you more than I trust myself. My tears fell freely, blurring the ink. I pressed the notebook to my chest, whispering, Ya Allah, this is what I want. I don't want empty bows. I want you, all of you. Your names, your mercy, your justice, your nearness. Teach me to know you before I worship you. I rose and spread my prayer mat. Each Allahu Akbar carried the weight of every trial, every loss, every fear. But this time, it wasn't hollow. This time, I wasn't standing before a stranger. I was standing before Ar-Rahman, Al-Wadud, Al-Hakim, Al-Latif, Al-Hafid, Al-Qarib, Al-Ghani, As-Samad, At-Tawwab, Al-Adil. This was no longer ritual. It was recognition, surrender, love. As I pressed my forehead to the ground, I whispered, You are enough. You have always been enough. And now I finally know you. The room was silent, but the silence was full, alive, breathing with peace. When I finished, I sat in the stillness, tears soaking my face. I reached for my phone, dreading yet expecting another cruel message. But when I unlocked the screen, there was nothing. No new messages, no threats, just silence. For the first time, I smiled. Maybe it was over. Maybe the test had finally brought me where Allah wanted me, to Him. But just as I set the phone down, it buzzed. My chest tightened. I picked it up with shaking hands. One new message. The sender wasn't Khalid. It wasn't an unknown number either. It was my own number. The message read, Now that you know me, will you truly worship me? And I realized, the story wasn't ending. It was just beginning. If you've walked with me through this story, then you know now what I didn't know at the beginning. I thought worship was just moving lips, bowing down, checking a box 5 times a day. I thought faith was something inherited, like the color of my eyes, not something I had to fight for. But Allah showed me otherwise. Through loss, fear, and whispers in the dark, I learned that worship without knowing Him is like trying to love a stranger. You might give the motions, but your heart will stay empty. Only when I began to call Him by His names, Ar-Rahman, Al-Wadud, Al-Hakim, Al-Latif, Al-Hafid, Al-Qarib, Al-Ghani, As-Samad, At-Tawwab, Al-Adil, did my worship turn into love, my fear into trust, my grief into surrender. The messages, the shadows, the threats, they weren't just battles with someone outside me. They were reflections of the battle inside me, between fear and faith, between emptiness and knowing, between worshiping blindly and worshiping with love. And here is the truth I finally reached. Allah was never far. It was me who was distant. He was Al-Qarib all along, closer than my jugular vein, closer than the breath that carries His name from my lips. So now, if you ask me, why must we know Allah before we worship Him? I will tell you this, because love cannot live in ignorance, and worship without love is nothing but an empty echo. I began this journey asking, do I even know the one I am bowing to? I end it with a vow. I will spend the rest of my life bowing, not to a stranger, but to the one I now know, and the one I long to know more with every breath. And maybe that's the secret. Knowing Allah is not a destination, it's a journey, one that never ends, even in Jannah.